It's been one crazy year for the Naruto manga, and today I'm going to just talk about what's been going on lately, my thoughts on some things, and just overall the Naruto manga as of this year thus far. Now, we've had ups and downs this year. We've had from Naruto and Sasuke nearly on their deathbeds to being revived, Hagoromo, the Sage of Six Paths, giving them that incredibly crazy power, and ultimately just them fighting against Madara, then Madara dropping out, Kaguya, and Kaguya with Black Zetsu, finding out everything that Black Zetsu did, and now Kakashi and Obito's death, Kakashi getting the eyes, and the controversy that has been around Naruto this year has just been absolutely insane. It's one thing after another. Either people are loving the fuck out of it or they're hating the shit out of it. Now, for starters, I want to talk about the whole thing with recently what's been going on with Kakashi and the eyes. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I mentioned for the most part my thoughts a bit in my review, but I just kind of want to make comparisons and talk about some of the things that people have been pointing out. Now, one of the things that people are saying definitely regarding Kakashi getting the two Mangekyo Sharingans and pretty much perfect Susanoo now is how the hell can he do that? He could barely manage one eye. He's not Uchiha. And for the most part, people have been coming up with some explanations. Overall, I think one of the biggest things that I personally had a problem with was the way it was delivered. People are comparing the way Obito delivered to it, basically via, from another world or whatever, from limbo, so to speak, how Hagoromo did it. First of all, it's a very big difference because even though Obito at some given point had the power of the Jubi Jinchuriki in him, he had the Jubi, ultimately he had it for a very short time. He had no way to master it or anything. And the difference with him and Hagoromo is Hagoromo was activated because Ashura and Indra ultimately came together and gave the power for him to be awakened. You have Naruto and Sasuke there, and just Naruto's ultimately innately had that ability inside of him. So Hagoromo was able to come forth, and at the end of the day, this is a god. Hagoromo's the legendary Sennin of everything, the Sage of Six Paths, the Legend of all. So for him to have given them their powers ultimately makes more sense. They had both the spirits of Ashura and Indra and everything, and it just came together very well with him awakening and giving them the powers. So at least there was a good explanation for that. But with the Obito thing, it just felt very strange. It felt bizarre. At the end of the day, like I said in my review, I feel if he would have just given the eyes before he died, a lot of this could have been avoided as far as just feeling like it was kind of like a train wreck in that sense. I get it, what people are trying to say. He had the power of the stage, but it just, first of all, it really wasn't explained in the chapter. At least if we would have got a little bit more of an explanation, and hopefully next week's chapter does that, because even Sasuke was like, what the fuck is going on? How the hell did this happen? At the very least, if that gets explained, how it happened and why it happened, etc., that would make a little more sense as far as that goes. And as far as him being able to control it, I think one of the big things, going back to everything that's been happening as of recent with Naruto this year, probably last year, year before that, one of the main things is I think Kishimoto wrote himself into a corner the moment he spoke out and said, this is the final arc as far as the Great Shinobi War. And I know that we've been having sub-arcs in it. There's been the Madara revival, the Tensei, the Jubi revival, etc., etc. There's been different ones within it. But as far as motion of events, it's been one thing after another. Naruto and Tobi clash heads, Madara showed up, etc. It's just been all confined within these events. Now, I think one of the biggest solutions to a lot of these problems would have been if Kishimoto never said that, and we continuously went through the story with different breaks, where different things happen to where characters have to back off and we get a break and people can train again. Because, say for example, this thing with Obito happened, and this happened probably earlier on where Obito's death happened and he gave him the eyes. Imagine we had downtime for an arc or two where Kakashi can go by himself. He's like, I want to be alone, and he trains it up. And ultimately, he comes back into the next fight. Let's just say, for example, Madara was imprisoned. I don't know how they do the prison system in the Naruto world, but let's just say he's in prison, and Kaguya awakens within him while he's in prison, and ultimately he breaks out, and then that's how the next arc starts. But in between that, some events happen, blah, 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 and Kakashi had time to train it, and out of nowhere, Kakashi comes back, and he's like, this time I won't let you down, Obito, and he's there with the Susanoo, and he's been practicing, he's been training. At the very least, it would make a lot more sense, because it's like, he had time to train. He had time to learn and master it. He's a copycat ninja. He can do that if he puts his mind to it. So I think had there been downtimes and had it not been all one stretch of events, things would flow a lot better. A lot of things that felt like, holy shit, this is, what the hell's going on, would make a lot more sense. I honestly think Kishimoto, one of the biggest mistakes he did was coming out and doing this as this is the final arc and it's all a chain of events. If there have been times where, like, Obito dips out for a bit, and he's like, I need time to recuperate. And then he comes back with Madara, and then Madara gets jailed after Obito's death, and, while he's imprisoned or some shit, or while they're about to execute him, weeks later, they have him on trial or some crazy shit. I don't know how the legal system in Naruto works exactly. Bam, Kaguya awakens in him. He fucking breaks out, turns into Kaguya instead of in the middle of the battle. I think another thing is, ultimately, as far as Kaguya as a villain thus far, while she's very strong, and it's crazy strong, she's not as interesting as Madara. Nowhere near as interesting as Madara, because her mouthpiece is Black Zetsu, which at this point is like, please kill Black Zetsu. Okay, he did all these things. He, was the master manipulator or whatever. But at the end of the day, I would rather Kaguya Otsutsuki be doing everything on her own accord. A lot of her strategy and fighting and everything is being swayed by them telling her what to do, or by Zetsu saying, do this, or they got to do that, you got to do this. So I definitely want her to get rid of him at some given point. But I just think that as a villain, Madara, I really wish he would have had a proper ending, because I think at this particular point, if he does come back, he might not even come back on some villain shit at all, because we still have his fucking magical legs there with Hagoromo, summoned or whatever. And I'm imagining the Hokage are coming up with some strategy to get rid of the Senju tree, and then they're going to probably help to seal away Kaguya or whatever. But Madara, when he does come back, he might just say, well, my whole goal was the Eternal Tsukuyomi. That was my answer to finding peace for the world. It's out the window. Fuck it, just let me die already. And he'll probably just sit there miserable, like my whole life's work at this point once again down the drain. So he might not even come back as a villain. I think he should have had a better end, and I think, if anything, Madara and Kaguya's times as villains should have been far apart. That's another reason. Again, it all goes back to, and I've been saying this for a while, I've been talking to friends for a long time, I've been thinking that Naruto should have continued the path that it had, where we get downtimes and we have separate arcs and stuff. I think the Fourth Great Shinobi War maybe should have ended a long time ago. Maybe after a lot of Obito's plans were foiled, all the Jinchuriki were killed, and a lot of the Edo Tenseis were fucked up, he retreats and he comes back with Madara. Bam, downtime, people can train, people can recuperate, and things can be a lot better fleshed out. And that's one of the reasons, again, I guess why a lot of this happens is because we don't have downtime. As far as the Naruto and Sasuke power-ups, I'm perfectly fine with it. I think it's pretty fucking awesome. I really want to see their final fight at some given point. I've been saying that for the longest time, whether it's in the new movie, Naruto the Last, and this their final fight or whatever. I just want to see them at some given point fight. I think that it's been inevitable, whether it be for Hokage of the village or whatever the case may be. We need that final fight to see who's going to take it at the end. And I think rightfully so, it should be Naruto, because I don't know, personally, I just want him to redeem himself after that very first fight where Sasuke, knocked him the fuck out. And as a whole, the one thing with Naruto, I say as a fan, speaking from a fan, critic aside, reviewer aside, etc., I think the best thing that it does is, at the very least, it generates interest and it gets me excited and entertained every week, regardless if, like, for example, my latest review, I was disappointed. I didn't think that the method to getting that power, while I'm happy that Kakashi is now useful, I mean, at the end of the day, what's more useful than fucking having the perfect Susanoo? I just wish it would have been handled a little bit better. I mean, people are coming up with, at the end of the day, he has Obito's chakra, and those are Obito's eyes, so it's already activated. I don't really know exactly how truthful that can be or how that works, but it is what it is at the end of the day. At this point, it's just, I'm enjoying it for the ride. We only got a little bit left, so I'm just going to look at it as, fuck it, Kakashi's back and he's beasting. I'm not going to really think much logic of it at this particular point after last week's chapters, like, fuck it, whatever. But I'm looking forward to seeing them beasting, and as far as this final fight goes, it's like, hopefully Kaguya gets a little bit more interesting and we get to hear her talk a little bit more of her backstory and what happened with Hagoromo and Hamada. I'm still not ruling out the possibility of Hamada returning or us finding out that he's the Death Seal Reaper at some given point. Maybe that's why he is that, because he tried to steal his mother in the past. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on the manga lately. It's been absolutely insane. It's either one thing where it's like, holy fuck, how did that shit happen? Or it's, holy shit, I'm really enjoying it. So it's back and forth with the Naruto manga this year. But let me know what you've been thinking of the Naruto manga lately. Naruto and Sasuke getting the Sage of Six Paths powers. Kaguya showing up. Do you think that this arc would have been better, or all of this material would have been better, if we would have continued on with breaks like, normal manga, how we've been having breaks, how Naruto was prior to the war, where we would have breaks like maybe Madara being sealed up and then Kaguya busting out would have been far greater of an entrance for her, you know what I mean? And just share what thoughts on the manga lately. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that'd be awesome. I'm Neverworld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. It's been one crazy year for the Naruto manga, and today I'm going to just talk about what's been going on lately, my thoughts on some things, and just overall the Naruto manga as of this year thus far. Now, we've had ups and downs this year. We've had from Naruto and Sasuke nearly on their deathbeds to being revived, Hagoromo, the Sage of Six Paths, giving them that incredibly crazy power, and ultimately just them fighting against Madara, then Madara dropping out, Kaguya, and Kaguya with Black Zetsu, finding out everything that Black Zetsu did, and now Kakashi and Obito's death, Kakashi getting the eyes, and the controversy that has been around Naruto this year has just been absolutely insane. It's one thing after another. Either people are loving the fuck out of it or they're hating the shit out of it. Now, for starters, I want to talk about the whole thing with recently what's been going on with Kakashi and the eyes. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I mentioned for the most part my thoughts a bit in my review, but I just kind of want to make comparisons and talk about some of the things that people have been pointing out. Now, one of the things that people are saying definitely